are here on, I don't know why all week I can't remember what day it is. what This is Friday, and it is the 29th. I mean, literally all week. Wrong day, wrong date. So sit comfortably, those of you at home. If you need a blanket, grab one. Now, I forgot to tell you all here, since it'll probably be a minute before Randy comes in. If you like a third block for dolphin, you can grab a third block. I would bring it to you, but that would mean I touched it. so if you want to do 3 block dolphin, it's good to keep moving. Good to keep moving. Up and down, up and down. All right. And now we can sit comfortably and get easy however you're sitting so that you feel good. If you're up on a blanket, that's great, or 2 blankets. Just close your eyes and let yourself feel. I knew as soon as I started I'd hear that door. Let yourself feel your chin. Just release down a little bit for a second. And release the back of the neck. And then go ahead and let yourself reach up through the crown of your head and see about turning your palms up towards the ceiling. Rest your hands on the back of your legs, your knees. Depends on how you're sitting, obviously. Just so you're comfortable in your shoulders. And just accept your breaths now, in and out through your nose. For a second, let yourself feel really soft all around your eyes. Bring your gaze down, even with your eyes closed. And then bring your awareness to your hands, to your fingers, and let your thumbs and your pointer fingers come to touch the tips together there. So you make just that little circle and release your hands however feels good for you to just stay with that connection. Randy. Why don't you go right here? Thank you. There's nobody else coming. And then let that connection go and let your middle fingers and your thumbs lightly touch the tips together there. Again, if you need to change your hands the way they are, do, just so you can make that connection. And then just breathe. And now let that one go, and let's go to ring fingers and thumbs. Again, just lightly touching there, feeling that ease of connection, and then just let yourself breathe. And letting that one go. Now we'll go to the pinky. So again, if you need to arrange your hand a little differently to let the thumb and pinky fingers lightly touch there, the tips do. And then releasing there now. Let your hands come on out beside you, lightly touching the ground there with your fingertips. And now float your hands just a little bit higher and start to let your hands circle in one direction. Now, you're going to rise the arms up as the hands circle. So they slowly come up to where they're about shoulder height. And then they're going to keep going up if your shoulders let you, higher and higher, as high as you want to go up overhead with your hands, really. That's up to you. Take your time. Stay at the highest height that you want to be up there with your hands circling. And then start to slowly lower them back down where you get your hands straight out from your shoulders again so that your arms are parallel to the floor. Good. And then reach out through your fingertips. We're going to cross our left arm on top of our right. Give yourself a hug. Let your shoulders release down. Let your chin come down just a little bit. And then you can head in towards an eagle or half eagle wrap if you choose to. You can stay hugging, or you can send the backs of your hands together, or let the back of the right hand come to the outside of your left elbow, or come into that final right fingers to the left palm into your wrap. Good. One more breath. And then let your arms come undone. Bring the hands on back down beside you again. And then float your hands again a little off the floor. Now, the way you circled before, you'll know which way it is. It's the way you always want to go. Start to circle your hands the other way. And let yourself do the same thing we did. You're going to slowly let the arms start to rise on up a little bit higher and higher and higher. Again, if your shoulders tell you to stop, you just stop. Don't go any higher than you want to. So you can come all the way up with your hands like all the way into a wide V, or you can go up with your hands over your shoulders. Totally up to you. And then keep circling, start to come back down. Let yourself circle all the way back down again to where you have the arms straight out from your shoulders again. And then once you're there, stop the circle, reach out through your fingertips with your palms down, and we'll bring the right arm on top of the left and let yourself release there. Again, hug yourself, chin down a little bit if that feels good. Stay there if you want. If you feel like heading towards half eagle wrap or eagle arms total, you can do that if you want. Sliding the back of your left hand to the outside of your right elbow for the half wrap there. Or let your left hand fingers come to your right palm. Your thumbs twist towards the midline a little bit if that feels good. And then we'll release, let the arms come down. And from here, flex your feet. If you're cross-legged, press into the outside edges of your feet on the floor and make your way into a seated forward bend. And coming forward with that long back, we're all different. You may decide to stay up higher. You may decide to fold a little more over your legs. That's up to you and your back. Take your time. Let it feel good. Wake up your hips, your back. Try to let go of your face and your jaw. One more breath here. And then we'll slowly make our way on back up to sitting. And we're going to remember what leg you have in front, and you will because it's the one you always cross. Stretch your legs out beside you. Just not a real big wide angle, but a little bit. Come on forward a little bit from here so you can start to wake up the backs of your legs. You can slide your hands down your legs. You can put your hands on your toes if you want to, or just ease your way into opening up the backs of the legs. Now, try to release the back of your neck. So you're looking down instead of forward and tensing up the back of the neck. Instead, you feel a lot of length in the back of your throat. Good. One more breath. And then we'll rise to come on back up. And we're going to come back cross-legged with the other leg in front. If you were cross-legged. If you need to leave your legs long, do. And now from here, start to rise your right arm up overhead. Turn the palm up towards the ceiling and your fingertips face towards the midline of your body there. And then bring your left hand up and encircle your right wrist here. And just gently pull up a little bit before you go over into side stretch over to your left. So keep that gentle pulling upward as you come over to the side. Feel a little more space between your ribs. And then we'll come on back up to the top. We're going to switch. Left hand presses like you're pushing up into the ceiling with the heel of your hand. And then wrap your right hand around. Lift up before you go over, and then keep feeling like you're pulling gently, just gently. You don't want to feel uncomfortable with it. Breathing into the left side. And then we'll come on back up to the top. We're going to release our arms on down beside us. Flex your feet. If you're cross-legged, press into the outside edges and come on forward on this side too. So take your time, ease your way. Let your head release if you can, as long as it doesn't bother your back to let your head hang. If it does, then think of the head being more in line with your spine. And just breathe. And then let yourself just sway your upper body a tiny little bit side to side. Just let yourself feel a little bit more on each side there in the low back. It's not a big movement. And then we'll come on back to center and we'll walk ourselves on back up here. We're going to stretch our legs long in front of us now. And let your feet circle around a little bit and see if you can keep your legs still. Isolate. Let just your feet and your ankles do the work here. And then reverse and go the other way. Good. And then come on back. Find a little staff pose here. Shake your legs out a little bit. Feel the heels on the ground and bring your arms on down beside you, palms facing down. Inhaling here as you lengthen up through the crown of your head. And on the exhale, we'll twist to our left. Let yourself bring your left hand behind you. Right hand can go wherever feels comfortable. Just enjoy. You can look farther back behind if you want, or you can look towards the wall there beside you. One more inhale. And as you exhale, pull your heels down as you come back through center and go off to the other direction. So feeling the heels in the ground, feeling your legs engaging. One more inhale. And on your exhale, use your belly. Come on back around into center. Bring your hands behind you and just draw your chest a little bit forward. Open up here now. Feel your sits bones. Your sitting bones are drawing down towards the ground. Imagine your inner thighs melting down towards the floor too. And then we're going to release to come on back up. Shake out a little bit as we come on around towards our hands and knees. You decide if you need any kind of support under your knees. So if it feels a little iffy when you get on your knees, grab a blanket and put it underneath your knees. Once you get there, stretch your right leg out behind you for a second. Press into the heel. Open up the back of the leg a little bit there. And you can let your head hang or you can look down between your hands, whatever feels more comfortable for your neck. Now see if you can lift that left knee up. Press into the top of the left foot. Engage your belly a little bit. And then lower the left knee down. We're going to bring the right knee back under us and stretch the left leg out. So at first, keep the right knee on the floor and really focus on opening up the back of that left leg. Zip up your low belly. And then if you can, float your hips up a little higher, lift that right knee up, but press into the top of the toes do. And then we'll bring the knee back down. We'll bring both knees on back under us. And let's move through our cat-cows now. So take your time, just easily flowing through the back. Good. And then finishing the one that you're on. We'll come back to more neutral. And let's come into left foot forward to find our first lunge. So you know if you like your blocks underneath your hands, by all means grab them. Let yourself come on up with that back knee and get adjusted, the length of your stance, what height you want to be. You know, if you feel like you want to bring your left forearm or hand up to your thigh, do. That's totally up to you. And then we're going to switch. So coming to the other side. So again, finding that alignment of that front knee. Again, allowing yourself, if you feel like you want to bring your right hand or forearm up to your thigh, you can. Enjoy finding your whole body here in your lunge. Good. And we'll step forward from here, making our way into standing forward bend. Let your knees soften a little bit. If you need support underneath your hands, use it, or elbows on your knees there. And then walk a little bit. Bend one knee at a time, but keep your feet grounded. So as you bend one knee and then the other, you kind of shift a little towards the outside of the hip that your long leg is on, right? Don't overdo it, but just enjoy. A little warm up there. And then come on back into center. Let both your knees soften a little bit. Feel those nice full deep breaths as you allow your head to release. But if you need support for your back, use it. Good. And one more breath there. And then we'll bend our knees, bring our hands to our hips. We're going to rise on up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down to be in front of our chest. Lift your elbows a little bit, spread your fingers, let yourself bow your head for a second, release your neck. If you need to kind of peek at your feet while you're looking down there, do. And then as you inhale, come on back forward with your gaze, whether your eyes are opened or closed. Looking on out, chin parallel to the floor, lengthen the back of your neck and your throat. Now let your elbows release down a little bit. Feel that soft connection in your hands. Be aware of the space all around you. And as we let our arms come on down beside us, we'll inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, bend our knees and come on forward into standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find a nice long flat back. And we'll step the right foot back to come into lunge. Press the feet away from each other here. Feel the belly engaging. Inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So take your time as you find your dog. If you need to walk a little bit to get into your stance, if you feel like you need to check your hands out, you can make sure they're equal there on the mat. Spread your fingers nice and wide. Feel your elbows softly hugging inward. Let yourself just enjoy centering out in your down dog. And on the next inhale, we'll come out towards a plank. Nice and strong here in the belly. And feel your sitting bones reaching down towards your heels. Make sure you're not dropping into your belly. Good. We're going to lower down. Knees first if you need. Elbows right by the ribs. Let's come into a little cobra. Go up just a tiny little bit with your chest. Let your gaze still stay down on your mat there. Let your hands be just very lightly on the floor. Elbows hug in towards your ribs. And then we'll release and come back down. We're going to come on back into down dog from here. Whether you go through hands and knees or a half or a full push-up. And we'll bring our right foot forward to find lunge. Left knee down if you need to get that right foot up. And then come on back into standing forward bend. Full deep breaths. If you're able to hold your elbows, if that feels fine to you, go right ahead and let your hands gently come to your elbows. Feel your sitting bones over your heels. Enjoy the weight of your torso just helping the backs of your legs to gently open up. And then we'll bring our hands back up to our hips. Bend our knees, rise on up, and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. Let's inhale the hands right up through the midline. Now, once you get up there, bend your elbows. Let your hands come right to the back of the top of your head. Hug your elbows in just a little bit. You can be just fingertips touching, or you can still be all the way together with your fingers and your palms. And then just let the elbows lift up a tiny little bit. Feel the tailbone reaching down towards between your heels. Just supporting the head here with your hands, letting yourself open up through the front body. One more inhale. And then coming back up, stretch your arms back up overhead. Take a nice inhale here. And on the exhale, we're going to bend the knees and come on forward into standing forward bend. Inhale into that nice long back. And this time we'll step left foot back to find lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. Good. Let's inhale our way out to plank. And now see if you can lift your right foot up in the air. Engage your belly. Three-legged plank here. And then see if you can bend your right knee. Bring it in towards your chest a little bit. Flex the foot. And then bring it back again off the floor a little bit with that right foot. And then lower it down. And then we're going to do the left foot up. Nice and strong. And then bringing that knee in and towards your chest a little bit. You're still staying in your plank. And then come back to the foot barely off the floor back there. And then lower it down. And we're going to lower down. Knees first if you need. Elbows right by the ribs. And let's come on into Sphinx. Elbows under the shoulders. Let yourself just enjoy. Feel the top of the feet into the floor. Let yourself breathe. And then come back down. Slide your hands back by your chest. Now come into that little baby cobra we just did. So that you're not really using your hands much. And then if you decide, it will feel like a big relief to come up higher, then you can go ahead and head up into your cobra, letting the elbows hug in towards the ribs. And then we'll release to come all the way back down, and we're going to come back to down dog from there. So through your hands and knees, or through a full or a half push-up. Walk a little bit in your dog. Good. And then keep walking, but let your feet start to get wider and wider on your mat. Like you're walking each foot a little bit at a time towards the outside edges of your mat. Till you get to the outside edges so that maybe your pinky toe and your second toe are on the floor and the other three toes are on your mat. Bend your knees. Hug your elbows towards each other. And then we'll walk our feet on back. So let the feet come on back in towards being hips distance apart and parallel. Good. And we'll bring our left foot forward once we're there to come into lunge. And then we'll step all the way back into standing forward bend. Full deep breaths. Really just let your arms do whatever they want. So if you need to put your elbows above your knees to support your back, do it. If it feels good to bring your hands behind your legs or under your feet or onto your elbows, or even sometimes clasping your hands at the back of your head, not pulling, but just that extra weight. Sometimes that feels good. Receiving those breaths. And then we'll bring our hands to our hips, bend our knees, rising on up, and inhale the arms all the way out and up. Exhale the hands down through the midline to be in front of your chest. Find your mountain pose here. Feel that length in the back of your neck and your throat, feeling your chin parallel to the floor. Feet equal in the floor. And then we'll unfold our arms on down beside us and inhale the arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, coming forward into standing forward bend. Moving with our breath. Inhale into a long back. Exhale, right foot back to lunge. And inhale. Exhale into downward facing dog. Let your inhale bring you to your plank. And let your exhale lower you down. And inhale into your cobra. Exhale back to down dog. Inhale. Exhale, right foot forward to lunge. Inhale. Exhale, standing forward bend. Bend the knees, rising on up to the top with your inhale. Let your exhale carry you forward. Let your inhale lengthen out your spine. Exhale, left foot back to lunge. And inhale. Exhale, downward facing dog. Let your inhale bring you to plank, and that exhale will lower you. And inhale into that back bend of choice. Exhale back to down dog. Inhale, exhale left foot forward, and inhale. Exhale standing forward bend. Bend the knees, rising all the way to the top. And on the exhale, we'll come forward. Inhale, long back. We're coming to down dog, however you want to get there. So take your time, wag your tail around, turn your head a little bit side to side, walk if you need to. In other words, if there's a little bit of moving in your dog that helps you feel better, do it. Spread those fingers wide. Feel your elbows hugging towards each other. Good. And then from here, we'll bring our left foot forward. We're coming up for Warrior 2. Have your blocks handy there by the front of your mat. Take your time. Let yourself really get situated there with the alignment of that front knee. Bring your arms on up. Turn your palms up for a second. Let your elbows melt down. Go ahead and look at your left palm if you can. Let it feel really easy to soften your shoulders down. And then we'll turn our palms down, start to reach out through our fingertips, really reaching equally back through the right fingertips, forward through the left. Just enjoy feeling your breath, feeling that sense of strength. And then from here, let your right hand come on down to your right hip for a second. Straighten your left knee out. We're going to bring the left hand down for triangle, whether you want to use your leg. Maybe you want to grab a block for underneath your hand, in front of or behind your leg. Look down for a second at your left foot. Lift your toes up of your left foot. Make sure that you're not rolling to the outside of that foot. And then go ahead and let the toes come back down. Feel your thighs lifting up towards your hips. And turn your gaze now forward again. If you want to add that top arm, you can rise that right arm straight up from your shoulder. So feel that sense of the thighs engaging upward. Imagine you're trying to lengthen your mat with your feet, but your thighs are lifting up to create space in your knees at the same time. Good. One more breath. And now look down at your left foot again. We're going to bend that left knee and come into side angle. Now you can keep your hand on a block if you have your hand on a block there, or you can go ahead and let your elbow come above your knee. And now see about letting that top arm come a little more down towards your head, into line with that right side of the body. Good. One more breath here. Really feel now the arches lifting up of both feet. And now we're going to turn to face the floor and come into lunge. So bringing your hands down, releasing that right heel directly behind you. We're going to bring our left hand to our left hip and come into a twist here. Now, if you'd rather bring your right elbow across to your left knee, do. You can keep your left hand on your back. You can stretch your left arm up. That's up to you. Whatever feels good, really lengthening through the body here. One more breath. And then we'll release to come on back down, and we're going to come back into downward facing dog pose from here. Walk to the tops of your feet a few times so that you press into the tops of the toes, at least more than once, that is, so you can really give your feet a little bit of time to adjust there. And then once you get evened out, come on back into your dog, and let's all come out to plank, and then let's lower down. So however you choose to come down to the mat, up to you. And now, coming to the tops of the feet, see if you can press into an up dog here so that the knees come off the floor. Now, if your feet won't do that, curl your toes under and try lifting your knees up in your up dog. Right? So it's different for everybody. And then we'll make our way back into downward facing dog pose. Good. Now from your dog, come out to plank again, and now you get to do whatever you want. You can stay in plank. You can move through for a back bend if you choose, or you can just go right back to dog. And then, of course, you can put your knees down if you want and rest. So take your time. We'll meet back in downward facing dog pose from there. And then from here, we're going to bring the right foot forward. We're coming on up into Warrior Two on the other side. So lining up your heels, have your blocks handy again. Bend that front knee. Really be mindful here as you start to float your arms on up. Let the palms face up again. Let your elbows melt down. Go ahead and look at your right palm. Let yourself feel that softness in your shoulders. And then when you start to turn your hands down, just equally reaching out through both sets of fingertips. But feeling that your arms are being held up from underneath, not the tops of your shoulders, right? Easy, but strong. Finding that really powerful intent in Warrior Two as you bring your focus out over, almost like beyond the wall of the room here. And let's let our left hand come down. We're going to straighten our right leg out and bring our right hand down for triangle. So again, if you like using a block any height, it can be in front of or behind. Look down at your right foot. Let yourself lift your toes up of your right foot so you can tell if you're rolling on the foot. Spread them out a little bit if you can. Let the toes come back down and then start to turn your gaze again. So you're looking towards the long edge of your mat forward and then reaching that left arm up if you choose to. Again, this is totally up to you. You do not have to add the arm at all if your shoulder bothers you. Some of you might even want to play with looking up a little bit towards your hand or towards the ceiling. Thighs engage upward. One more breath. Good. And now look down at your right foot again. We're going to bend that right knee. Now, if you decide you want to put your elbow above your knee, do for your side angle. And then if your shoulder allows your arm to come down so that it comes closer to your head, bringing yourself there into your side angle, that long left side of the body. But you're also very extended in the right underside of the body. Beautiful. One more breath. And now turn to look at the floor. We're going to come into our lunge, so you might want to grab blocks for your twist. That's up to you. And then letting your right hand come to your right hip or left elbow to that right knee if you choose. And you can keep your hand down. You can stretch your arm up if you choose. Keep your hand down if it feels better. And then we'll release and come on back down with that right hand. We're going to make our way back into down dog. And be on your own right now. Whether you want to do vinyasas or kriyas is up to you. Remember, vinyasas is coming through your chaturanga. And if that feels like too much, sometimes just doing the kriya where you come out for plank and you just move through from there to your up dog can be a little bit easier on the shoulders. But don't do any of it if it doesn't feel good. We'll meet back in down dog. So take your time. Come into your dog here. And then we'll bring our left foot forward. We're coming up for Warrior One. Now definitely have both your blocks handy here, okay? So letting yourself rise on up. Bring your arms right on forward. Let them just continue to float up into either a wide V, or maybe you feel like you want to let the hands come more over your shoulders. Bring your gaze up a little bit if you can. And enjoy opening up here into your Warrior One. Imagine that there's this big circle drawn around you. And you're right in the middle. Your tips of your fingers are touching the circle, your feet. One more breath here. And then we're going to release, bring our arms on down. We're going to come down with our hands, probably to blocks for most of us. Release that right heel directly behind for lunge. And then from here, we're going to walk our hands towards the inside of that left foot, turning the left toes out a little bit towards the left front corner of your mat. Now from here, if you want to go lower down onto your forearms, you've got blocks there. You can decide maybe you want to bring your forearms down so that you get out of your hands. That is totally up to you. That might lower your hips too. That depends on you. Just be mindful. And then come on back to your hands again. Come back up and go ahead and lower that back knee down to the floor now. So if you need a blanket to put underneath your right knee, do it. And now you're pressing into the top of the right foot. And it's the same thing here. If you want to get a little bit lower, you can use the blocks underneath your forearms. Let yourself go to the floor if you'd rather. So you're forward with your hips. You're really getting into the front of that right hip. The hip flexor is really getting it here. Just breathe. Good. Now, if possible, let your left hand come up towards your left thigh, and then just twist a little bit. Don't force it. Just a nice little opening there. And then bring your left hand or forearm back down in front of you. And we're going to shift our hips back, and you might want to take your blocks. We're going to walk them to either side of that front foot again and shift our hips back, straighten that left leg out, and let ourselves come forward over this leg. So coming into a hamstring stretch here. You know, you can be as high as you want. You want to try to keep your torso long as you come forward over that leg. Now, if you can, feel the left heel drawing backwards a little bit as you press into the ball of your foot. And that keeps you engaged, both in your thigh and in your hamstring. And then this is optional. If anybody wants to go a little further, you can slide that heel farther and come a little bit more towards a split. And you don't have to do that, and you know that. You can if you choose. You can let yourself come as far towards a split as you want. You've got the support of your hands there, so don't go so far. You know, use your arms to support you. It's also good arm work. You can kind of hug your elbows in towards you a little bit if you need. And then we're going to come on back with that leg, which is the hard part. Bring your knees back under you and come into child's pose for a couple of breaths, whether you stay forward on your forearms or you shift back. Let yourself breathe there. And then walk your hands over to the right so that you can come into breathing in the left side of your body there. And then walk back through center and come over to the left. Breathing into that right side. And then come on back into center again in your child's pose. Let your elbows soften. Breathe into your low back. And then on your next inhale, come up to all fours, and we're going to make our way back into downward facing dog pose. Optional here to do vinyasas or kriyas. So that is up to you. If you feel like you want to come out and come into plank or move through to a back bend, totally optional for you. Good. And then we'll meet back in down dog again. Once you're in dog, hug your elbows towards each other. Feel your hands equal on the floor. Feel how much dog feels even more powerful now than when we first started. And then we're going to bring our right foot forward. We're coming up for that warrior one. So again, remember you want your blocks handy. Rise yourself on up. Once you kind of get up there, let your arms keep coming forward. And then at your own pace, let them keep rising. Now, where they stop is up to you. So you can take your time lifting through the front of the body here. Let yourself feel equal from your feet all the way up through your legs into your hips. And then that big circle. It's almost like you feel like you're encircled by your own breath. Inhaling up the front of the body over the top. Exhaling down the back. And then we're going to let our arms come on down. We're going to bring our hands all the way down for lunge, remember. So again, as you walk your hands to the inside, you can use your blocks. Inside of that right foot, turn the toes slightly out towards that right front corner of your mat. Take your time. Stay here for a breath. And then, of course, if you want to get out of your hands, if you want to lower you can even stack your blocks up higher to come to your forearms here with that back knee up. So you be where you can. Letting the hips release. Good. Now come on back up to your hands if you can, okay? We're going to lower that back knee down this time and press into the top of the foot. So, it's not necessary. It depends on your hips whether you can come very deeply forward. So you can be back more with your hips. You can come down lower to blocks or the floor with your forearms. Press gently into the top of the toes there. Take a breath here before we even think about adding that little twist. And now, if you can bring your right hand on up kind of above your knee and twist a little bit here. Now, this really, really brings it deep into your hip flexor there. So be mindful. Don't force it. And then when you're ready to come down, do. One more breath. And now we're going to come up again to our hands so we can walk our hands to either side of that front foot as we shift our hips back and straighten that right leg out and kind of adjust yourself to where you're coming out over that inner leg. It's not about how far you go. So if you feel the heel on the floor and press into the ball of the foot, there you are engaged. So you may need to be pretty much up high and get a really lot going on in the back of that leg. Or maybe it feels good to bring yourself farther forward over the leg. Just be mindful. Don't overdo. Keep engaged by drawing that heel back, pressing into the ball of your foot. And now again, you don't have to go any further than this. If you want to slide that front foot forward towards a split, remember, get your hands underneath you to give you support so that you don't have to feel like you're going all the way into a split. You are supporting yourself with your hands. You don't even have to go any further than where you were. You can stay right where we were. And now when you're ready, bringing that foot on back again, bringing yourself into child's pose again. So let your arms come overhead. If you want to bend your elbows and let your hands come up onto your low back, you can. Breathe into that low back. And then extend the arms long. We're going to come on up to all fours and back to down dog. And this is final vinyasas or kriyas. So if you feel like moving more, coming through for your up dog, or maybe you feel like you want to stay in down dog, and then we'll meet back in downward facing dog pose. Now again, really find your dog. Elbows hug in. Think of your back of your head being in line with your spine. Good. And then bend both your knees really deeply. Feel your belly coming towards your thighs. Hug your elbows towards each other. Glance up at your hands. And do you want to jump or walk your way up there? So coming forward, however you choose. And then just releasing into your Uttanasana. Really allowing yourself to follow your breath all the way in and out. And then we'll bring our hands back to our hips, bend our knees. We're going to rise on up and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down in front of our chests. Find your mountain pose now. If you need to wiggle around or move around a little bit, sway around a little bit, do. And then just, again, be aware of the space around you. Kind of like now there feels like a little more electric energy, right? So just appreciate how you feel. Feeling that sense of being very grounded and centered in your mountain pose. Quiet but strong. And then we'll let our arms come on down beside us and shake out. Move around however you need to. We are going to come into a wall with our mats. So take your time, bring yourself in with the short edge of your mat, and we'll come on into tree pose. Let's do left hand towards the wall in case you need it. Now, if you're really used to putting your hand on a wall and then coming into your tree pose, which I am, I find I get really dependent on that. So maybe, just maybe, you could play a little bit, just have the wall close enough, but bring your foot in to your inner calf at first with your hand not on the wall. See if you can do that. And if you're like, well, that should be easy, but it's really not, you can practice it a few times, right? You can put your right foot back down and come back up again. Bring your focus to a place that's good. And then, of course, if you want to bring the foot up higher, you can. You can either put your hand on the wall to do that, or you can let yourself bring your right hand down to pull the foot up into the inner thigh. Feel the foot coming into your inner thigh, and your inner thigh coming back into your foot, or if it's the calf, same thing. Foot coming into the calf. So you can rise your arms up. Now, the fun thing in tree pose, once you feel pretty easy in your balance, is to vary your arms, right? Which makes it really hard. So, like, you can bring your hands down and put them behind you and try that if you want. Sometimes it's fun to bring the right arm up and then bend the elbow and try to let your hands come together on your back there. You know, that's another kind of fun thing to do in tree pose. Coming into those cow face arms, but just relax now. Come on down. Shake it out. Circle through that ankle a little bit, and we'll go on the other side. So again, if you can kind of feel like it's playful, instead of, tightening yourself up into tree pose. So sometimes that's why if you just play a little bit with putting the foot up to the inside of the calf, and if you're like, oh my goodness gracious, that feels terrible, then put it down, kind of readjust a little bit, and think about doing that again. Feel that uplift in the front of the right leg. And then, of course, if you want to reach and bring the foot up to the inside of your thigh, you can put your hand on the wall to do it. Or you can try without. And then again, find a focal point. Sometimes it feels good not to use your arms at all. Just let them hang. You can change. Let your hands go to a different place. Your arms go to a different place. Of course, put your foot down. Readjust if you need to. We're going to release to come on down. Now, shake out a little bit. We're going to go back around to the first side. And put your left hand on the wall. Bring your right foot behind you. And if you can reach back and get hold of the top of your right foot, do. Pull the heel in towards the outer buttocks a little bit, right? Let your knee be facing down. And now, start to push the foot into your hand. So you feel that openness across the right side of your chest. Bend your left knee a tiny little bit. And then start to send your chest forward and your knee back, coming into dancer's pose here. So you can let go of the wall here or not, right? You can have your arm overhead. You can let your hand just stay close to the wall if you feel. You can go deeper forward if you want. Just make sure here that you're not locking that supporting knee. You can come straighter. You just don't want to lock it. Beautiful. And then we're going to release. And come on down, and we're going to turn around, go to the other side. So again, at first, bend the knee, take hold of your foot, pull the heel in towards the outer buttocks a little bit, feel the knee facing straight down, and then again, start to push your top of your foot or your ankle into your hand. You feel that openness across the shoulder. Bend the right knee a tiny little bit, let your chest come forward. And again, you can keep your hand on the wall. You can balance here. You can come farther forward if you want with the torso, back a little more with the knee. Good. Nice. And then we're going to release. And come on back down. Good. Let your hips circle a little bit. Separate your feet and kind of do that hula hoop motion, right? Let your feet come as wide as you want, but let it feel like a good release up into your hips. And you can switch and go the other direction when you want. And then from here, we're going to come on down to our mats, bringing our feet back towards the wall behind it. Oh, no, let's not do that. Let's turn to face the wall. Get your 3 blocks handy, too, before you get settled in. Have those 3 blocks. If you don't want 3 blocks, that's fine. Just turn to face the wall anyway, okay? And then come onto your forearms and let yourself, don't go back all the way into child's pose, but just shift your hips back like that's where you're going with your forearms on the floor. Clasp your hands together, send your pinky fingers out, feel your shoulders there. And then come on forward. You've got your shoulders right over your elbows. And we're going to lift up into a little dolphin here. No blocks, just letting ourselves find it. And it's kind of fun because now, here at the studio, we can see each other. So let yourself just press into your forearms. Hug your elbows towards each other. Take your time. If you feel like you want to bend your knees or walk a little bit, do. Good. And then we'll come on down. Take a break here. And now, of course, if you're like, I can't wait for 3 blocks, you're more than welcome to set your blocks up by the wall. So the bottom one is the highest height. The top 2 are the lowest height stacked on top of each other. And then if you wrap your fingers around that bottom block, you can lift yourself up and come on into your dolphin with support. Now, if you don't want to, just do your dolphin without the support. I'm going to come around and make sure everybody's stacked right. So if you're at home, there you go, that's it. You wrap your fingers around the bottom block. So the bottom block needs to come a tiny bit more away from the wall. Yeah. And you can play there however you want. You know, you can stay there, come down when you want. If you want to put one leg up in the air, you can. If you want to try to bring both legs up, Martha, turn your top blocks the other way. So everything the other way, actually. The bottom block, too. There you go. There you go. That'll feel better. Yes, it is. Once you're there, it's really kind of awesome. So take your time. You know, don't do anything that doesn't feel good. So just having one leg up at a time or just having both feet on the floor. And of course, when you're ready to come down, just be mindful. Let yourself rest either in child's pose or sitting up. That is totally up to you. So breathing, releasing. Good. And then from here, if you're not already down, you might want to come down and take a little rest. And then we're going to take our time to come up and around to sitting. So depending on how you're resting, let yourself come on up, on around to sitting. And if you know that having a blanket underneath you is a good idea for forward bends for you, grab yourself a blanket. And we'll bring our right leg on out in front of us, left foot in, either to the inside below your knee or above, kind of like tree. Use support. In other words, if that little tweakiness is happening in the knee, and when you come forward sometimes, that's when it really shows, the hip and the knee, a little tweak. Just use support, see if it helps. But think about, as you come on forward from your low back, I mean, you can reach right away for your foot. Obviously, you can keep your hands on your leg or beside your leg. But feel that length and kind of take your time. So once you come forward the first time, see if you can think about inhaling into the length of your spine. And then maybe when you exhale again, you can come a little farther forward. But instead of just laying flat out over your leg, give yourself time. Let yourself adjust. Be with your breath. Good. One more breath here. And then we're going to slowly come back up. And we're going to open that right leg out to the side. Now, how far you go is up to you. This left leg now, this is pretty intense. If you think about going to the top of your left foot a little more, kind of rolling the heel up, some people's hips do that and some don't. The other thing is if your knee really bothers you, change how deeply you have it bent or stretch it out if you need to. Because from here, we're going to come forward a little bit here too. So take your time, and this is a pretty intense stretch on the inner right thigh. But it also puts a lot of pressure on that knee. So be mindful. Let's come forward a little bit. Feel that right heel on the ground. Draw it back towards you a little bit. Good. So one more breath there. And then we're going to rise on back up, and we're going to slide our right hand down towards our ankle or our foot. Now, if you want, you can turn to hold on to your big toe mound and let your right elbow sink down towards the inside of your right leg there. And you can keep your left hand on your hip, or you can put the hand up behind your head if that feels really good. Some of you might want to stretch the arm long or reach your left hand down towards your right foot. It is still a very strict side stretch here. So even if you're up here, think about coming into that side stretch. It doesn't mean you have to be really deep to get into that left side, right? So be where you can. And then we're going to slowly rise on back up. Take an inhale here. And on the exhale, we're going to twist to our left. So bring yourself around with the left hand behind you and enjoy. It should feel like a big release for that left side waist. And then use your belly to bring yourself back into center. And we're going to haul this right leg on back forward. We're going to put the left foot out, left leg out, and bring the right foot in. So again, this is a different leg. So last time you might have been fine, but you may feel something different on this side. Use support. Legs directly in front of you at first. Feel the heel on the floor. Press into the ball of the foot. And then ease your way forward, right? So take your time. And as you come a little bit forward, you find that inhale. Imagine starting at the base of your spine and inhaling up your spine into length. And from there is where you come forward, right? So again, you can let your hands go wherever you want. Let your breath be your friend here, though. Yeah. Feel the inhales helping you lengthen. And even if you just imagine coming a little farther forward on your exhale, right? So one more breath here. And now as you start to make your way up, be mindful as you come on up. And again, we're going to open this leg out to the side. And what you do with this right leg, totally up to you. If your knee's iffy, Let your foot come out farther so it's not so bent. Put that block under, or even stretch your leg out if you have to. Yes, you don't want to put any undue pressure on your knees. And then as you think of coming forward, think of this left knee and toes facing up. And it's like you were in a wide angle here, right? Except it's just one leg. So it's a different feeling. It's very intense on that long leg. Good. Nice. So one more breath here. And then we're going to slowly walk ourselves up. Put your left hand on the top of that left leg there and slide it on down. So again, how far you go, up to you. If you feel like you want to drop your elbow down and kind of hold on to the ball of the foot, you can. Keep your right hand down if you want, or stretch the right arm up, or let the hand come behind your head, or reach into that long arm. And it's okay if your right sit bone comes up a little bit. I forgot to say that on the other side, but don't try to force that sit bone down. If you're going really deep with your right hand over to your foot, it's okay to let the sit bone come up a little bit. We're going to rise slowly on back up from here. Take an inhale once you're at the top. And on the exhale, we're going to twist to our right hand behind us. Again, it's like a relief. Good. One more breath. And then slowly make your way on back around. And bring, again, that left leg forward. Stretch your right leg out too. And really just let your legs move however you want. Feet can circle. Legs can do windshield wiper blades. You can do little bounces. Let's bend our knees, though, now. And bring yourself in. Maybe you want to turn your hands out to like 45 degrees with the fingertips facing back. Or maybe you want to bring your fingertips facing towards the foot of your mat to think about lifting up from here. Now, if you don't want to lift up, don't do it. You can open your chest right here and stay with your bottom on the ground, right? Should feel pretty good. Or you can decide which way to turn your hands, coming up into that four-footed table if you choose, so that you feel the belly engaging. You can look up. If your neck goes, no, I don't want to, then look forward. And if you want to, you can let your feet come close enough to put one foot on top of the other thigh. And that's really kind of fun. You can do the other leg, of course, when you're ready. And then, of course, you can come down as soon as you're ready to. Stretch your legs out, turn your hands the other way, but don't push down. Just come forward a little bit so that you're letting just the weight of your arms, with you being on the back of your hands, help you release your wrists. Nice. And then from here, let yourself come on up. Now, if you're a fan of rolling down onto your back on the floor, you can roll down with your legs long. You can bend your knees if you want. If it feels really good to you to work the belly a little bit here, if it bothers your back, don't do it. But you can think about rolling down onto the floor, keeping easily that sense. Once you get there, oh my goodness, don't bang your head into anything. And then, if you can, let yourself stretch your arms out beside you once you're down there on the floor, and bend your knees and put your feet on the floor. And then from here, cross your right thigh over your left. And let the knees now keep centered, right thigh over left. Let the knees come to the right. And just a little bit. That depends on you, whether you want to go pretty deeply with the knees down towards the ground, or maybe you just want to go a little ways. Keep your left shoulder grounded. You can even turn your head to look to the left. And then bring the knees on back up to the top. We're going to uncross our leg. And we'll do left thigh on top of the right. And then let the knees go to the left. So again, you can turn to look to the right. Oh, just enjoy, yes? And then when you're ready to come back up to the top, come on back up and totally follow what your body wants to do right now. You know, you may feel like going up into a bridge pose right now, and you may feel like coming into a bit more of a hip opener. There could be any number of things, or you may just go, oh, I just can't wait for Shavasana. There's nothing else you need to do to let your body get comfortable, then go right ahead. And if there's something that sounds good and you start doing it and you're like, oh yeah, not so good, then just listen to your own body so that you're going to be able to release here and be comfortable. So I'll walk around in case somebody here wants a bolster or a blanket. So at home, let me bring you something if you need it. Remember, I sanitize everything, and if you need a blanket and you don't have your own, I'll bring you one. I take it home, I wash them. So if you need to use the wall to put your legs up, do. If you feel like you want to support your head a little bit with the fold of a blanket, if that feels good, do. And just enjoy allowing your body now to feel how you feel after doing a yoga class like this. It really does allow you to so much more easily come into that quiet place where Shavasana takes care of you for a few minutes. So just appreciate watching your breaths in and out. And give yourself the gift of these few minutes, trusting that your body and your brain will get what they need just by letting yourself completely and fully relax. gradually now, let yourself feel your breath deepen a little bit. Just allowing yourself to feel your belly rising and falling with your breath. Imagine those deeper breaths really refreshing you so that when you get ready to move, your fingers and your toes easily want to wiggle, your hands, your feet joining when you're ready, and of course your arms, your legs. Take your time. If you need to stretch everything long, do. If you feel better to bring your knees up. And of course, if you're comfortable to roll to either your right or your left side anytime, you can come into a soft fetal position on your side. But be easy. Feel cradled by the floor a little bit longer. Appreciate that gravity's holding you down there. And when you do feel okay to rise up, almost feel like you're floating your way up. And get comfortable in the way you're seated so that if your eyes can stay closed, do so you can really focus on getting really easy in your hips. Eventually floating on up to have your head, crown of the head reaching upward so you feel that ease of shoulders softening down away from your ears and letting your hands rest where you feel good in your shoulders to be. And come back to those breaths. And on your next exhale, let your hands come gently to meet there in front of your heart. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste. Happy Friday, everyone. The last weekend of January. Thank you all for